Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now, welcome to our first session of the Global Islamic Economy, the road to recovery, reviving international trade, investments, and economic cooperation. I'm dialing in from Kuching, Sarawak, where the forum was supposed to be held physically. Unfortunately, I'm not able to return back to Kuala Lumpur in time to attend the gala dinner tonight. So that'll be my miss, perhaps, for tonight. But we have indeed a very important session this morning. But before I invite the three speakers to share their perspectives, perhaps do allow me to provide a bit of context. Now, if you look at the global economy, after a strong 6% growth in 2021, the global economy is experiencing a broad-based and sharper than expected slowdown. The high inflation experienced in most countries, the tighter monetary policies adopted by most countries in order to contain inflation, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and the lingering COVID-19 pandemic in some major economies, such as China, weigh heavily on the economic outlook. And if you look at based on the latest October 2022 IMF World Economic Outlook, the global growth is expected to slow to 3.2% in 2022, and further the slower growth of 2.7% in 2023. Now, for OIC countries, the 2022 edition of the OIC Economic Outlook by Sheikh has yet to be released. I believe that will be released next month in November. But based on the 2021 edition, the GDP for OIC countries is expected to grow by 4.5% in 2022, which is about the average for the past 10 years. Now, Malaysia perhaps is one of the exceptions. So let me continue. Malaysia perhaps is probably one of the exceptions where we are expecting a higher GDP growth of 6.5% to 7% this year. So indeed, if you look at our first half of this year, we grew by 6.9%. And for next year, our off-year forecast is between 4 to 5% GDP growth in 2023. Now, in terms of spending, based on the latest State of the Global Islamic Economy report issued by Dina Standard 2022, the world's 1.9 billion Muslims spent the equivalent of $2 trillion in 2021. And this is 8.9% higher compared to the spending in 2020. And this is being spent across food, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, fashion, travel, and the media recreation sectors. And all of which are very much influenced by Islamic faith inspired ethical consumption needs. Now, similarly, Islamic finance assets are estimated to have grown to $3.6 trillion in 2021, an increase of 7.8% from the $3.4 trillion in 2020. Now, despite the continued uncertainty in the global world, global Muslim spending in 2022 is forecasted to grow by 9.1% for the Islamic economic sectors covered in this report. And this excludes the Islamic finance sector. And with the exception of travel, all of these sectors have returned to pre-pandemic spend levels by the end of 2021. And Muslim spend is forecast to reach $2.8 trillion by 2025, representing a 4-year CAGR of 7.5%. Now, obviously, as most borders reopen, we do expect the travel and tourism numbers and spending to increase. Now, many of the 81 countries covered in the report continue to develop more robust Islamic economic ecosystems, with Malaysia retaining the top spot for the 9th consecutive year, as mentioned by the Honorable Minister. And Malaysia is followed by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Indonesia. And I'm pleased to note that we have some new entrants to the top 15, including the UK and Kazakhstan. So if I may just perhaps summarize some of the notable developments in the global Islamic economy, perhaps 3 of them. First is in terms of acceleration of digitalization. Secondly, heightened intra-OIC trade deals. And third, increased government focus on food security and healthcare. And in terms of the 3 key drivers underpinning the global Islamic economy, firstly, is about the large and growing Muslim population, as highlighted by the Honorable Datuk Mustafa Muhammad. Secondly, the increasing urge to adhere to Islamic ethical values relating to consumption. And third, the growing number of national strategies dedicated to halal product and service development. And the most notable one is the halal law enacted in Indonesia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a good 1 hour to cover the topic, during which we hope to answer, among others, the following questions. Firstly, in terms of the intra-OIC trade, there was a target set of 25% in the OIC 2025 program of action, where, having said that, we believe that the trade is still small. So what more can be done to boost trade and business linkages between fellow Muslim nations? Secondly, what are the policies that can be introduced to strengthen bilateral and multilateral relations, especially on leveraging the global Islamic economy between Muslim countries? Third, what would be the call to action for the private sector, be it multinational corporations or small and medium-sized enterprises, as we navigate our way through the post-pandemic era? The fourth is about how can we encourage closer cross-border trade between business in the Muslim world and beyond. Number 5 is about the outlook for the global Islamic economy for the next few years. What do you believe to be the untapped growth areas? Lastly, perhaps, are there or what are the policy areas that Muslim countries can synergize and find alignment with? For example, whether there can be some standardization of halal regulations and so on. So to answer these questions, as mentioned by Zaim earlier, we have with us this morning 3 gentlemen from diverse background to provide us with their very broad perspectives. Firstly, we have His Excellency Oknha Datuk Othsman Hassan, the Senior Minister for Special Mission of Cambodia. We have Mr. Irfan Sheikh, the President of the Federation of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry and of Pakistan. And the third, we have Mr. Taufiq Firdaus Muzaky, the Head of Foreign Cooperation Subdivision of the West Java Partnership. Each speaker will be given about 10 minutes to introduce the subject matter and to provide the comments and answers to some of the questions. And after the session, we will engage in some conversation before we open the floor for Q&A. So for all the participants, please be ready with your questions, and we'll be happy to direct them to the relevant speakers later. So with that, again, welcome and thank you, gentlemen, for agreeing to be on this panel. So if I may now invite His Excellency Oknha Datuk Othsman Hassan to present his views, please. Excellency, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Mana?
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tan Sri Abdul Majid Khan, Organizing Chairman, Global Muslim Business Forum, Deputy Chairman, KSI, Strategy Institute of Asia Pacific. Mr. Yusuf Hassan Khalawi, Secretary General, Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, ICCIA. The Honorable Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Minister in the Prime Minister Department, Economy, Malaysia. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm very happy to have Muslim. First is I want to introduce myself. I'm a senior minister in charge of the Islamic affairs and special envoy of the Kingdom of Cambodia 20 to 1975. And after that is the leader is of the Khmer Rouge Pol Pot regime. They take the power and to control the country is...
Sorry, Minister, we actually lost you for a good 1 minute just now. If you could perhaps retrace for the past 1 minute, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, yeah.
Now we're good. We can hear you clearly now. Thank you.
You hear? Okay.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Cambodia is now I want to tell you is about the Cambodia. Its economic is at this time, and last 22 years ago, Cambodia has have the economic growth average 7.5% in 22 years. And now is expect is from the Cambodian government for year 2021 and 2022. 2021 is about 3%, and 2022 more than 3%, and expect for 2023 is about 5%. But the World Bank expect that it's about for year 2022 4.8%, and 2023 5.2%, and ADB expect that 5.3% for 2022 and 6.2% for 2023. This for the expect is from the World Bank, ADB, and from the government side. Export, Cambodia have to export to the for the trade, international trade, in year 2018 is about 12 billion, but now is international trade is we export in 2021 is about 28.7 billion. Every year is Cambodia is increasing development. Yeah, I know that is Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, know very well about Cambodia. Yeah, the development is grow very fast. Yeah, for all sector, any sector grow after COVID-19. So the government of Cambodia also is after finish COVID-19. Cambodian government, Prime Minister start grow the. So now we have to export to another country which agriculture product, and the product is from the industry like garment factory. Yeah, we have many garment factory in Cambodia. The big brand like Nike, Adidas, all the brand, international brand is we have in Cambodia, produced in Cambodia. For the export to the Muslim country is from Cambodia, have small number, small number to export.
We seem to have a recurring problem with the microphone. I can see we lost you for the past 30 seconds, please.
Cambodian government have established is one body of the halal bodies to grow the economic for the halal product. Cambodia have a lot of the raw material in Cambodia, and also Cambodia have the labor still not so high, is cost to. Hello. Hello, Tamsi, have okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue. Thank you.
And now we planning to do the halal industry, so that we want to invite all the Muslim or non-Muslim is to come to invest in Cambodia, because we have a lot of opportunity in Cambodia, and we have chance to export is to another country, because some country believe is benefit for all the product what we have exported from Cambodia, like in Korea, in China, in the Middle East country. So Cambodia want to invite all of the investor to invest in Cambodia, and Cambodian government also is have the new law, new law for the development law. So we have big opportunity and can support for the all the sector of the economy. Ini saya nak cakap pasal Melayu. So I hope that economy in Cambodia will grow in next few years if we have full support also is from the Muslim country or non-Muslim country for the sector of the economy of the halal product again. Like just now is Datuk Mustafa already mentioned that is Malaysia is for the sector of halal also is a big number to export. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency Minister Datuk Othsman Hassan, for that introduction. Now, if I may, Cambodia, as you understand, I was saying that Cambodia, with a population of 17 million, but the Muslim population is less than 1 million. But I must say the focus and emphasis on trade with the Muslim countries must be lauded, I would say. So thank you, Datuk, for that. Now, Mr. Irfan Iqbal Sheikh is expressing some difficulty in trying to log in. Before we get to him, can we go to Mr. Taufiq Firdaus Al-Muzaky, the head of Foreign Cooperation Subdivision, West Java Partnership, to speak, please. Pak Zaki, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellency Mr. Yusuf Hassan Halawi, Secretary General Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, and also the Honorable Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Minister in the Prime Minister Department Economy of Malaysia, and of course Honorable Mr. Tan Sri Abdul Wahid Omar as the moderator, and all the speakers, His Excellency Oknha Datuk Dr. Othsman Hassan, and Mr. Irfan Iqbal Sheikh. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, first maybe I would like to introduce myself. My name is Taufiq Firdaus Muzaky. I am the former head of cooperation subdivision, foreign cooperation subdivision of West Java Province, and at the moment I'm as the coordinator of foreign cooperation of West Java Province under the government of West Java Province, Republic of Indonesia. Allow me to share my presentation file to you. Hopefully it can be seen by all the participants. Okay. First, maybe I would like to introduce as well about our profile in provincial level, part of Indonesia. Indonesia in general has number one, the biggest population of Muslim in the world. And of course, this is kind of responsible for our the government to encourage every potentials of human resources of Indonesia. And I would like to introduce to you as well that one of the most densely population in Indonesia is West Java Province as the largest, as the most populated province in Indonesia. We have approximately 49 million population of West Java Province, which is the majority of them are Muslim, approximately 80%, and our GDP, but still relatively not pretty high compared with other province. We are the third largest or the biggest GDP, regional domestic product in Indonesia, approximately 142 million US dollar. So so that's why West Java Province become one of the strategic province in Indonesia that will contribute also for economic policy in general in Indonesia. Well, and also demographically, West Java Province dominated by a younger generation, mostly again Generation Z and also millennial. That's why many sectors today mostly dominated by millennial or from 1997 until 1995 for the age of their born. And ladies and gentlemen, we are also convinced that today a globally economic globally we face many uncertainty and many challenges, in particular from the pandemic that has been experienced by many countries. Also, the war escalating in European countries that so far increasing the economic uncertainty as well, and climate change, as well as the globalization potential to be for the upcoming years predicted by IMF. And from West Java perspective, I guess Indonesian perspective, the three area for a job or an employment that and industrial sector that quite survive from the pandemic challenge. The first health sector, of course, this maybe happened globally, and digital technology, and also the agriculture. Those three main sectors become our priority to also support it because that area really particularly significantly survive on that today challenge. And also our policy focus also for maintaining the trends of employment, and we promote the digitalization industry to be one of the priority in governmental sectors. And the job landscape also influencing our policy because it impacts on the 4.5 industrial revolution. Well, in general, in terms of the global Islamic economy, we realize that Indonesia, even though we have many potential on the Islamic economy, we still overall positioning the fourth among the global countries. Even though we are predicted to have contribute approximately 5.1 billion US dollar, but today we still approximately 3.6 billion US dollar, and we have already planned for the roadmap until at least 2024. Several policies that has been tackled or has been planned and allocated in central government in particularly, then it also mandated to subnational government, including the provincial government of East Java. Yeah, this is one of data, even though still 2080, but overall there are several potential of halal industry in Indonesia, which is halal travel also one of the popular sector. Even though in general globally Islamic economy finance or Islamic finance become one of the popular area, but today since 2019 actually the central government already designed the roadmap for encouraging the potential of halal industry in Indonesia, from strengthening legal aspect and coordination, which is previously the halal certificate in Indonesia was under Majelis Ulama Indonesia, the NGO Muslim in Indonesia, but today shift to be under the religious ministry of Republic Indonesia. And also the second, this is kind of the quick wins roadmap actually, national campaign on halal style, on a halal style. And the third one, encourage the establishment of national halal fund and establishment of halal hub to strengthen domestic halal industry, and also establishment and activation of Islamic inclusive financial service board that best in Indonesia. And last but not least, for one important things that maybe related to my working background, strengthening cooperation in international economy through international halal center, that even though we are under a provincial government, but we really concerned about that mission for apart from the roadmap of Islamic economic development. Also, because this year Indonesia also as the presidency of G20, which share dominant GDP in the world, and our position is quite difficult today, facing many difficulties, start from the escalating of the political stability due to the war in European countries, and most of them also part or member of a G20, and it also affect to the strategy of Indonesia to make or to contribute for facilitating the peaceful political tension globally, which is also what I mentioned before, really impact on economic structure. Well, Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share also what has been done by West Java. Maybe I would like to share some of them, some of our program that may be contribute to halal industry. The first, in particular for cooperation and initiative to collaborate with international institution and government. The first West Java in 2023 has a very strong commitment to facilitate international cooperation in many sectors. Therefore, in this year, we are the host of three international meetings that quite contribute strategically to the global economy. The first, we are the co-chair of Urban 20, part of G20, which is already successfully conducted last month. We conduct Urban 20 Summit in Jakarta and West Java. And then second international event that will be conducted soon for the upcoming couple weeks. For the next couple weeks, we will be the host of OIC Parliament Forum, the Islamic Cooperation Organization that really relevant with what will be discussed for the relevant institution initiative. And also the third one, we will be the host for the 11th East Asia Local and Regional Government Congress. That the topic of discussion will be related to industries and tourism that mostly affected by global pandemic today. And yeah, we really inspired by the pentahelix the pentahelix concept to be adopted in collaborative attempts that involving public authorities, industry, academia, NGO, and citizens that shape our cooperation initiative and program. So yeah, several case studies maybe would like to be raised from West Java experience so far. West Java interest on encouraging industry, including halal industry, is actually really concerned on this SME, small medium enterprises, which is contribute on approximately 6.61% of total GDP in Indonesia, and also creates approximately 96 until 97 job opportunity in Indonesia. Therefore, our interest and our sector as a subnational government interest is under SME framework. Therefore, we start the bottom-up approach from millennial peasant. I call that program to be a millennial program because this program attended by mostly younger generation in West Java to encourage them to be interested in agriculture, and already graduates approximately 1.2 thousand Indonesian, West Java younger generation. And next program is English for Ulama. This kind of program that encouraging ulama from West Java, which has a creative approach to encourage the school, Islamic school, and we are promoting them to campaign for demonstrating or promoting a peaceful Islamic practically in Indonesia, in West Java in particular, and how they create creative approach to empower Muslim students to prepare them to be in entrepreneurial futures. And next program is One Pesantren, One Product. A pesantren is a religious school, quite famous in Indonesia, namely pesantren, Islamic religious school. So we incentivizing one pesantren to be one specialist product that we are also encouraging to to export their product. So far in UAE, even though still small scale, but we are very optimistic that it can be grow in the future. And last project is Wesiafa MSME Export Campus that also we make a collaborative with other enterprise or other institution to facilitate our SME institution to grow their business for encouraging their export, in particularly in two regional area. Well, that's all. Thank you very much. That's my presentation. Back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Zaki, for those comments. Now, you mentioned about Indonesia being the fourth in terms of the size of the Islamic economy. But I think being the largest economy in ASEAN, I think it's just be a matter of time before Indonesia will take the top spot. So that's inevitable in my view. But anyway, now we are still not able to get the Mr. Irfan Iqbal Sheikh online. But we do have, if I may, Mr. Yusuf Hassan Khalawi, who has agreed to come in and provide his perspectives. Mr. Khalawi, thank you so much for coming in and provide your perspectives. If I may, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You hear me?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a very important subject to talk about the global Islamic economy as a global perspective, especially after all that crisis. To start with, I'd like to focus on the driving factors of the Islamic economy, just in general, because this needs a full conference to talk about what drives our Islamic economy, especially to be globally. But let me have a quick brief about the major factors which driving the Islamic economy first of all. So number one, we always talk about the number of Muslims around the world, which is totally true. As we started that session, we are talking about achieving like 1/3 of the world population by 2060. So we are almost now between 22 to 23% of the whole population. This is a major issue. But this is not alone. We need also to consider number of middle class. They are growing in the whole Muslim world, which is very clear in some countries like Turkey, like Pakistan, Egypt, Indonesia, several other countries, which make the purchasing power of Muslims are also higher than before. Another issue, which is the Muslim minorities around the world. They are doing great from business point of view. So when we consider, for example, Islamic fintech now, Islamic fintech, then what comes to our minds is the Islamic countries like Indonesia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and that's true. But we will be shocked when we notice that Islamic fintech are growing very strongly in UK, which is non-Muslim countries. So Islamic economy is becoming a major issue, and the driving factor here is our numbers are increasing everywhere as population, as purchasing power because of the middle class, as I said, and because of the Muslim minorities around the world. So this is my first point. My second point is that Islamic economy is no longer something related just to the Islamic world. In this week, while we are talking now, the first Islamic bank in Australia will operate. So Islamic economy is not only in the Muslim countries. We have already several Islamic finance institute in UK, in Canada, in the States, and as I said now, even in Australia. So it already became a global issue. The third factor which I like to emphasize also is that Islamic economy started only with the financial sector back to the 70s when the first Islamic banks started around 1975. But now Islamic economy is not only Islamic finance. It became like a full lifestyle. So it includes, as we mentioned earlier, beauty industry, cosmetic, pharmaceutical, food and beverage. At the beginning, we know that very well, but even tourism, even media, entertainment, fashion, etc. So when we consider all that factors, we then understand the whole picture of Islamic economy, which will be very, very, very attractive to any business owner in the world. Then what happened? What happened by the pandemic is just we shocked with several crises. It started with the pandemic, then we have now the Ukrainian crisis, which was so important to notice that we need to consider what we call now securing business. Before pandemic, we used just to think about make more profit, which means looking for products and services around the world which could be cheaper. So any business owner, any CEO were looking before the pandemic just to make more profit by shipping cheaper products, by selling cheaper services. When the pandemic came, we have waken up to notice no, there are another issue which we need to secure to have continuous supply chain, etc. And this has happened again during the Ukrainian crisis. So now it is not just to make profit. No, it is even to consider the continuity of our businesses. This is what we discovered during the pandemic. So how can we build now our future? This is something also we need to consider, and maybe we need to talk about it later on details. Here, I'd like just to highlight three major points. Number one, we need to become more innovative. So when we consider, for example, the Islamic finance, what we are doing till now, we are just following the conventional Islamic products. So everything we are doing now, we are just following the conventional banks, for example. We didn't create till now our initiatives, and sky is the limit when we talk about innovation. Still now we didn't use the power of zakah, for example. We didn't use the power of waqf, for example. All our focus mainly started with Islamic banking, and now we are focusing on sukuk. So what about the other instrument? We need to be more innovative. So this is a major factor if we want to consider better future for Islamic economy. Another issue, which is to have more quality on our products and on our services. For example, people now are buying halal products just because it is halal. No, we shouldn't buy the halal products just because it is halal. We can focus more and more on the quality. If you have better quality in a reasonable price, then even non-Muslim people will buy our halal product. So if we have better quality, our products will be attractive for both Muslim and non-Muslim, and we can do that easily. My last point on how to build our future is to build the trust. Build the trust. Why I consider that? Me, as a Secretary General of Islamic Chamber of Commerce, I am traveling everywhere, and I don't like to hear that we are going to Islamic banks just because we want to avoid interest, because we believe interest is riba and riba is haram in Quran. I don't like, as I mentioned earlier, just to hear we are buying that chicken or that meat or that lamb just because it is halal. No, we need to focus on the brand, because business is branding and branding is trust. Why you buy that piece, for example, why you buy that mobile? Because you trust the brand. So we want to be more business oriented, as I said, not just to focus on our religious or our belief. No, we want to focus now, from now on, even branding. Branding means trust. Why we trust that brand? Because it has history, it has quality, etc. So we need from now on, especially our SMEs, our startup, our entrepreneurs, I really advise them to focus on branding, building the trust by building brand. Building brand take long time. It is not something happen in 1 or 2 years. No, it is not just design a logo. It is the trust. If people trust your brand, then they will follow all your products which will come under your brand. So this is in general how we should focus on our future, not just to focus on our belief, which how we started our Islamic economy. From now on, alhamdulillah, as I said, it is already global issue, global concept, accepted everywhere. So we need to focus, after all what we did in that 5 decades, to build international businesses, international enterprises. Then we will become a real global economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf Khalawi, for that perspectives. Now, you're right in terms of sharing the views about they need to be more innovative, more quality products and services, and to be able to actually build the trust. On Islamic finance, you mentioned about the need to develop the products, perhaps looking at zakah and other social finance products. So one of them, I believe, involving a court or benevolent loans. And I think that's something which perhaps will be discussed in the session on Islamic finance later. Now, if I can perhaps, ask you, Mr. Yusuf Khalawi, in terms of boosting the intra-OIC countries' trade, no, the target is 25%, but we actually nowhere near that for the moment. What more can be done to boost the trade and business linkages between fellow Muslim nations. So, for example, if you talk about the food imports, so the OIC is a net importer to a very major extent. I think the figure is about 50 or 60 billion US dollars food imported from non-OIC countries into OIC countries. Wouldn't there be greater opportunity to get the supplies from fellow OIC countries?
Okay, this is a very important question, and people are raising that issue for decades now. It is not a decision can be taken by our presidents or by our ministers. It is something should be done through business. And I will here go back to my points. We need to build the trust between business people. Why? Because now every business man, every company are doing business. So what we are looking is to shifting that business from, for example, importing from like China, like for example, the state, Europe, Brazil, into doing business between two Muslim countries. So why business people will shift? It is as I said, when they trust others. If we don't build that trust, nothing will happen by a decision or by a resolution coming from our government. This is what we need to focus on building the trust in the private sector between business people. And building that trust need to have more networking, more business trip to visit our countries. I always say it is a shame when we consider the halal industry, because the top 5 countries are non-Muslim countries. Why a shame? Because we have all that livestock available in our Muslim countries. So why still we are importing just from non-Muslims? Because the business people are just continuing to import from their partners in that countries. So how we will encourage them to shift? Not just by talk, no. We need more business deals, more business relationship, more networking, more visits. What we can do through that conference, for example, is so important to discover the opportunities available in our member states. We don't need just to rely on talking like what we always say. Indonesia is the largest population. For business people, this doesn't mean anything. Why he will go to import, for example, from Indonesia just because it is the largest Muslim population country? No. They want to look for the quality, for the prices, for the services, for having easiness of business. This is what we should consider. So as a conclusion, it is not a decision can be taken by anyone. It is the decision which can be taken only by business people to shift from what they are doing now to import and export between Muslim countries.
Well said, Mr. Yusuf, I must say. So obviously, it is the role of the leaders to perhaps facilitate and enable, making sure that there are no barriers and so on. But it's truly up to the respective businessmen to trade more with each other. Now, if I may perhaps go to Pak Zaki. Pak Zaki, Indonesia enacted the halal law. Maybe you can provide some perspectives on that. What will be the implications, and how can that then help boost Islamic trade with other countries?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I guess I would like to respond to some of points that previously mentioned by Mr. Yusuf Hassan Khalawi. Is it true that just demographic structure without any initiative, without any policy that was systematically to escalate the Islamic industry is nothing. Therefore, that's also become our things to do by government perspective in Indonesia. Well, mentioning what you're questioning or about what our attempts to do or to promote the Islamic potential industries, of course, we need to start not only rely on the government role itself, because even though the government role is very, very strategic, but our initiative need to be start bottom up, not only on the top down initiative. We have what I say before, not only the structure of a Muslim itself, but also what the business process so far has been done, and what they plan for the upcoming years and the upcoming challenge for economic globally. The first, I would like to highlight the promotional attempts, because this attempts is really important to convince that we have a very huge potentials, to convince the stakeholders, many stakeholders, start from government and business stakeholders, to convince that potential is not kind of spontaneous attempt. It's need to be handled by a more sustainable and more systematic attempt to convince that our potential is very huge, not only for Indonesian perspective but globally. And we need to also ensure whether it is through empirical studies or any convincing attempts that the principle of halal economy will bring some positive impact on and the kind of the answer for today economic crisis globally. And I guess this attempt will bring more and will convincing the stakeholders to shape their industrial or economic structure by adopting Islamic principles. And I do also agree about the business process is really important. We cannot rely on the labeling of halal itself, but of course the business process will really determining how the production level will be increasing, because the customer is not only Muslim people but also for non-Muslim people. But overall, we need to encourage that the quality of halal product is reliable and most trusted product, and also the purchase process itself. I guess there's several opinions from the comments and questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Pak Zaki. Excellency Oknha, Datuk Othsman, would you have anything to add? Sorry, you need to unmute, Datuk. Sorry, Excellency, we can't hear you. You need to unmute, please. Well, sorry, while we sort out that technical issue, we do have a question from the participants. So one question that came in, how would you go about changing the negative image of Islam in the Western world? would success in the Islamic economy be a factor in changing the mindset? Mr. Yusuf, would you like to answer that?
I can comment on that. This is a right question. Islamophobia now is growing in several countries, but I see everything in general as positive, because always business can cover any negative issues. So if we consider business and the power of business, which has always like what we call the win-win situation, this can cover everything. As I said in my speech, Islamic economy is a global issue. So for example, just next month we will launch in our Al Baraka Foundation our first summit in London about Islamic economy, and we have a guest speaker even from non-Muslims. So through business, through showing the people our belief through business, we can communicate with everyone, we can network with everyone, but we need more power maybe from the media, as every one of us can understand the power of media now, the power of social networking, etc., all that online issues. So we need to have a smart and new approach for the new generation. Especially if we focus on the new generation, we can cover all that issues of Islamophobia, but yes, through business we can do a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Pak Zaki?
Okay. I guess for changing the view globally, not globally, I guess the negative perspective about Islam that may be affecting on the Islamic product itself needs not only rely on the Islamic business entity itself, but I guess multi-perspective and multi-stakeholder need to bear in mind that they, in particularly for business, for the Muslim people, bear in mind that they are the agent of the agent of the their religion. So several points maybe I would like to highlight that really important to be part of concern for Muslim globally. The first, they need to we need to show the positive side of Islam in many sectors, not only in business but also in many practically. We need to eradicate the corruption. The corruption itself kind of the plug for development in many sectors. I guess many countries made their fundamental crisis due to the corruption, and it brings a negative negative tendency to the global perspective. And also we need to be the role model in any sectors. We need to lead in science, so we need to lead in business, of course, and we need to bring back the glory of Muslim in the past in many sectors, not only in business and science, but many things, including the government and political stability is really important. And also the third one, we need to increase the welfare in every Muslim countries, because it brings also the impression of global about Muslim economy in practically, not only theoretically, I guess. And also the role of media is really, really important because small mistakes, small negative things from our side, if we not really have power in media, will be raised and give negative impacts from the global perspective about Muslim and its products as well. And also networking is really important. Therefore, really we, in particular after the crisis, Indonesia really would like to openly and bring initiative globally to facilitate the networking in many sectors, start from G20 and next for ASEAN and many things and so on and so on. Not only on the government itself, but also I guess business entities and many sectors, scientists, etc., etc. We need to we need to bring initiative in networking. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Zaki. Excellency, Mr. Datuk Othsman, would you like to add anything? Sorry, we can't hear you somehow. Sorry, well, we'll continue perhaps. Well, I think from my perspective, so indeed, you go back to the question, would success in Islamic economy be a factor in changing the mindset? So I think people will always like to associate success with the good things, but it's also important to understand how that success is being achieved. So within the context of ESG, it is important that the success is achieved in a responsible and sustainable manner from an environmental, social justice, as well as governance. So Pak Zaki mentioned about corruption and so on. So indeed, that's really true. There's also another question. Is there a contradiction between Islamic economy and SDGs? Anyone would like to take that question?
You need to choose.
Mr. Yusuf?
Okay, now in this year particularly, there was several conferences about that subject, the relationship between the SDGs and the Islamic economy. And basically, my thought is there is no Islamic economy if there is no sustainability. This is my belief. Islamic economy has been built on sustainability, and we have a great history which we can prove through that how Islamic economy did for the global civilization through different factors, by the way, not just specific factor. So for me, I believe if Islamic banking is not contributing to the community, this is basically not purely Islamic, you know. The same for everything else. What is the major difference between Islamic finance and conventional finance? It is just we have economy based on ethical. So ethical means what? Means to be positive with everything in the life, everything around you, environment, animals, people, the whole planet. If you behave on ethical way, this means you will not do any bad impact around what you are doing. So this is my personal thought, and I leave it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf, for that. Pak Zaki?
Well, I guess adopting Islamic principle in many sectors, in finance, in industry, etc., will bring beyond the SDGs itself, I guess. SDGs is a way to bring to escalate welfare in many countries. But I guess by adopting the principle of Islam, I personally believe by bringing faith, justice, faith, good governance, and etc., the principle of trust that is promoted and become part of the principle in Islamic economy without any avoiding negative practical of economic practically that's so far maybe become the causes that bring negative side of economic system like Ponzi or etc. That's maybe bringing welfare for only 1 to 2%, a small percent of people. But the principle of Islam to bring zakah, to bring equality, etc. I guess is more than contributing positively to the SDGs, but more than that, I guess beyond for the next conceptual of development, upcoming concept of development, I guess will be really supported if we are adopting the principle of Islamic economic system, I guess.
Well, thank you, Muzaky. Now, from my perspective, obviously, if you look at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, if you talk about number 1 being no poverty, number 2 being zero hunger, number 3 being good health and well-being, 4 being quality education, number 5 gender equality, and so on, I can't see how they are inconsistent or in contradiction with the Islamic economy. And certainly when it comes to comparison between Islamic finance and conventional finance, obviously under Islamic finance, there must be not just Sharia-compliant activities, but there must be a real underlying transaction. It must be fair and equitable terms. It cannot be oppressive, and so on. So I think if you apply the basic principles of Islamic finance, certainly is something which is not inconsistent with the UN SDGs. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we are actually coming towards the end of our session. We're supposed to end in 3 minutes' time. So, if I can perhaps offer, up to 1 minute each to the speakers to comment, to have their final say, starting with maybe Pak Zaki, Mr. Yusof, and then Excellency Mr. Datuk Othsman. Your final remarks, please.
Okay. Me first. Well, maybe to sum up, I would like to emphasize the importance of multi-stakeholder role for promoting the welfare through adopting the principle of Islamic in many sectors, including the economic system. And I guess I personally believe that it's should not rely on 1 to 2%, not only rely on the government, not only related to business entities, but all need to have a responsibility, need to convince themselves that adopting the principle of Islamic in economy will bring a positive side. And because from my perspective, from subnational government, I really promote the SMEs or small medium enterprise to be incentivizing for take part in Islamic economic system because they contribute a lot on largest proportion in our GDP and creates more job opportunity. And I guess this bottom-up approach really important. And I guess in globally, we need to sustainably promote the Islamic system in economy and creates opportunity to bring networking, more sustainability, not only with Islamic entities, and Islamic countries, but also in broader worldwide Islamic stakeholders and nation globally. And we need to have an initiative as a leader. We have to be inspired about the glory of Islam in the past, and we are believe that we'll lead economically in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Muzaky. Mr. Yusof Khalawi.
Okay, it is just one word to conclude with. which is entrepreneurship. I believe our future will be driven by the entrepreneurship in our countries. So if we just focus on supporting, on opening the door, on guiding those entrepreneurs, our future will be very, very bright, and I look very positively to that. So opening the doors, giving the guidance for the entrepreneurs around us will lead us to a totally different position in the global economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Minister Datuk Othsman.
Yeah. Thank you, Tan Sri. I believe that is we already opened the door. So inshallah, is all the information through this forum will give to share for anybody, yeah, to look at is Cambodia, to look at the economic Muslim in the future is can grow and can work together, close together between all the countries. Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Minister. So on my part, perhaps maybe three things. I think number one, we already have set the target of 25% intra-trade within OIC countries, but the program of action has already been outlined. What we need to do is truly to focus on execution. And coming from the private sector, I would say that this actually the most effective way of getting this done, focus on execution. Secondly, as we execute the plan, sometimes we need some adjustments. And when things don't go as planned, go back to the original purpose, spirit, and intention. And I think if you always go back on purpose, I think inshallah you'll be okay. And the third comment from me is perhaps for all of us to also look at some of the other recommendations. There's one study undertaken by the World Bank in respect of Islamic finance and the development of the halal economy for Malaysia. But I believe that that can also be applicable to the other Muslim countries too. And among the recommendations, maybe I can just highlight three. One is in respect of the need to enhance policy and strategy coordination across the different policymakers and Islamic finance providers to increase the impact of the various programs. Secondly, to establish closer linkages between programs that support innovation and productivity improvements with Islamic finance. And the third, in terms of enhancing the role of relevant institutional investors and expanding capital market funding for the halal economy. So with that, thank you so much to our three esteemed speakers for their views. And we look forward to listening to the other more specialized sessions for the rest of the day. So with that, thank you again for your attention and for your participation. Let me now hand over back to Zaim. Over to you, Zaim. Thank you.